I love the hire of new Commanders head coach Dan Quinn for two reasons. Number one, he is an excellent culture builder. He's one of the most respected leaders and men in the National Football League, and for an organization that needs a complete revamp, I think he's the right man for the job. And then number two, he is an absolute mastermind in terms of scheming up things for his defense. Today, we're going to be breaking down his defensive scheme and how it's going to help the Commanders' defense maybe punch above their weight a little bit in 2024, and why the future of the Commanders' defense is in very good hands with Dan Quinn Jr. and his new defensive coordinator, who will be calling the plays, Joe Whitt Jr., who was the secondary coach there with the Dallas Cowboys previously. Before we get into today's breakdown of the Dan Quinn scheme and why I am so excited to see it implemented with this Commanders roster, go ahead and fill in the blank for me down there in the comments section. The Commanders will have a top blank defense in 2024. Do you think they get inside the top 10? Do you think it'll be top 15? What do you guys think? Let me know down there in the comments section to kick off today's show. So here's the deal when it comes to the Commanders defense. Last year, we all know it was a complete dumpster fire, okay? It was terrible with Jack Del Rio eventually getting fired mid-season. Ron Rivera didn't know what he was doing either. And on paper, at least in terms of the talent, I think that this defense is unproven at best and garbage at worst. So you take a look at kind of the traditional setups for a defensive line, linebacker, cornerback, and safety here, starting with the defensive line. I mean, you look at this edge rusher group here. I mean, you're left kind of thinking, what the hell are we doing here? We got Dorrance Armstrong, who was a rotational edge rusher for the Cowboys last year, as your number one edge rusher. What the hell are we doing here? We got Cleveland Ferrell, another rotational guy, as your number two starter. I mean, it's just kind of wonky to see those two guys replace Montez Sweat and Chase Young, who you traded away last year. Of course, you got Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne, but this is definitely a downgrade compared to where it was last year if you have these four as your starting four linemen. Then you get to the linebacker group and you bring in Frankie Louvu, you bring in Bobby Wagner in the offseason. You still have Jamin Davis, who is a physical freak, and you still have good backups like Anthony Pittman, Mykal Walker, and Jordan McGee, who you drafted in the 5th round this year. So that room looks a little bit better. Then at the cornerback position, you got Emmanuel Forbes, who was burnt toast last year, as your number one corner, and then you got Michael Davis, who they bring in free agency, kind of a bigger corner that can take care of some of the bigger receivers that they face in this division and in this conference, like DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown. Still got Benjamin St. Juste, and then you draft Mike Sainristil to be your next slot corner to kind of replace Jartavius Martin, who was in that role to finish out last season. And then in the safety group here, you got Derek Forrest at free safety and Jeremy Chin at strong safety. Quan Martin gets pretty much delegated to the bench in this kind of formulation. Same thing with Percy Butler. However, I think that Dan Quinn isn't going to align these formations up, cookie cutter the way that I've put them out. I think he's going to get pretty creative with the way that he moves guys around here, and we'll go into what I think he's going to do throughout the course of today's show. And when you look at that defense with Dallas, with Joe Whitt Jr. as the secondaries coach and Dan Quinn as the defensive coordinator, they did a lot of stuff that was very untraditional and very almost revolutionary on the defensive side of the ball, and it led to a lot of really great success for the Dallas Cowboys over the last several seasons defensively. And with these things that they're going to be implementing here in Washington, I think it could really elevate the current in-house talent with the Washington Commanders, because like we talked about, the cornerback talent isn't all that great compared to other teams in the league, and then the edge rusher depth is really not good compared to the rest of the National Football League. So coming up here, I'm going to be breaking it all down for you guys. I'm going to be breaking down the scheme. I'm going to be breaking down everything that I think they're going to be doing. I'm going to show you what I think their plan is and what two secret weapons I think Dan Quinn is going to be deploying on this defense this year. But before we get into it, go check out our friends at Fanatics, and you can go to chatsports.com/DQ to get this awesome Commanders ball cap in your collection today. If you want to be rocking the signature Dan Quinn backwards hat look on Commanders game days this year, you can do it for a great price right now when you use our link, chatsports.com/DQ, to get this awesome Commanders ball cap in your closet today. If you use our link, that tells Fanatics that we sent you. So if you want to support the show and you want to be rocking the DQ backwards hat look on game days this year, I'm going to put the link in the comments and description. It is chatsports.com/DQ. So really, what's really the bread and butter of the Dan Quinn defense is pressure packages. And really what he likes to do is he likes to have a lot of creative fronts. Now, what do I mean by that? He moves his defensive linemen around in very creative ways. And all I have to say to opposing offenses that have to go up against the Dan Quinn defense is good luck keeping up with all the different fronts and stunts and games that he plays at the line of scrimmage, getting guys open, scheming guys open, putting guys up at the line of scrimmage, putting guys back out into coverage. They keep the quarterback and the offensive coordinator on their heels the entire football game, and that is something that is very good because obviously you want the opposing quarterback to not be comfortable and to make poor decisions under pressure. And I do think that the secret weapon when it comes to the pressure packages for the Commanders defense next year is going to be none other than Frankie Louvu, who is one of the best blitzing linebackers in the National Football League. He's also pretty decent in pass coverage as well, so they can put him out in coverage, they can blitz him, they can move him all over the formation, and he's going to be in the Micah Parsons role in this Commanders defense heading into next year. Now, obviously, Frankie Louvu, he is not Micah Parsons. He's not nearly as big. He is not nearly as strong as Micah Parsons is, and as we know, Parsons is one of, if not the best defensive player in football. But Louvu is the type of guy that has all the tools that you want to play this role. He can go out in coverage if you want to ask him to do that. He can cover slot cornerbacks if you ask him to do that for a little bit there in zone coverage. He can go and rush the passer with ferocity, with lots of different moves, and I definitely think that he is going to be used in a similar way that Dan Quinn used Micah Parsons for the years he was there with the Dallas Cowboys. And that's going to allow second-round rookie Jerzon Newton, a defensive tackle. And, you know, when we first drafted Jerzon, and I kind of thought about why they drafted him, I was like, I don't really know, man. He's going to be more of a rotational piece. He's going to be a backup. But no, I think that their plan for Newton is for him to start and for him to play significant snaps relatively right away. Now, he is dealing with the foot injury and the surgery that he just got, so it's going to be interesting to see when he gets back. Will he be ready for week one to really take on this role? But I think what Dan Quinn wants to do is he wants to have pretty much a five-man front where he can move these chess pieces around. You're going to have Dorrance Armstrong out there as your true edge-rushing defensive end type. Then you have Jonathan Allen that they can move around a little bit, but he'll still be a defensive tackle. Daron Payne will be more of that true run stuffer at 320 pounds. He'll be in the middle. And then you got Johnny Newton playing kind of another defensive end, almost like a 5 technique, a 3-4 defensive end in this kind of role here. He's like 285 pounds, so he's actually the size to play that kind of role, and I think that fits perfectly. And then you have Frankie Louvu on the edge as a hybrid outside linebacker defender that's going to be blitzing a lot, that's going to be moving all over the formation, that's going to be able to go out in coverage and blitz a lot, and it's going to look more like this, where you've got all these different chess pieces that are movable. You're going to be doing lots of stunts, lots of games to create easy pressures and get to the quarterback and force him into poor decisions. And then when you get into the obvious passing situations, he goes to his NASCAR package. And this is the thing that he's really famous for, Dan Quinn, when it comes to his packages. And, you know, on these obvious passing situations, he likes to take away the big bodies, he likes to take away the fatties, and he likes to put as many fast defensive linemen up on the line of scrimmage as possible and force the quarterback to try to decipher who's coming and who's going out in coverage. And this is something that has worked extremely well with the Dallas Cowboys. And like I said, guys, the situations that this is used in, second and long situations, first and 20 after a holding penalty, third and long, third and medium, when you know the opposing offense isn't going to be running the football, you get the run stuffers out of there, and you get the really athletic, really good pass rushers in there, and you force the quarterback to really decipher quickly after the snap who's coming, who's going out in coverage. It's really difficult to play against a NASCAR coverage if it's done right. And I look at the 5 players that I think they're going to be putting at the line of scrimmage for this NASCAR package here in Washington. Bobby Wagner, who's still one of the best blitzing linebackers in football. Then you got Frankie Louvu, who's also one of the best blitzing linebackers in football. There's a reason why the Commanders made it a point to sign Louvu and Wagner on the first day of free agency this year. I think it's because they're going to be blitzing a lot. Then you got Dorrance Armstrong, who was a part of this package back in Dallas. Same thing with Dante Fowler Jr., who is extremely productive in the NASCAR package for the Cowboys. And then you still have Jonathan Allen in there, who's still a great pass rusher, as we all know. So at the end result here is that you're going to have a defense here in Washington where it's going to have about 5 players at the line of scrimmage pretty much at all times, always threatening the blitz, always threatening to get after the quarterback. And even though it's not going to be quite as dominant as it probably was in Dallas because Micah Parsons is Micah Parsons and you don't have that type of player on this defense right now, it's still a defense that's going to produce chaos and it's going to produce pressure and it's going to produce bad decisions from opposing quarterbacks, which is absolutely something that the Commanders want out of this defense moving forward. So now, let's move on to the rest of the defense here, and let's move to the linebackers because Frankie Louvu is going to be playing more as like a hybrid edge rusher type of player. He's not going to be a true middle linebacker in this defense, and I think that Quinn's other secret weapon in this defense this year is going to be Jeremy Chinn, he's going to be plugging into his Jaron Kearse role, which which he calls the bandit role, okay? So that's pretty much a third safety. That's a hybrid linebacker / safety that can move around the formation, do all these different things, and he's going to be playing the same role that Jaron Kearse played in the Dallas Cowboys defense. And that's a little bit of the reason why I was a little bit surprised that Quinn and Adam Peters didn't sign Kearse in free agency this year, but I actually think Jeremy Chinn will fill this role even better. They're in Carolina. They tried to force him into like a deep safety role in a Fangio-style defense where that's not really his game. He's more of like a true box safety, more of a true hybrid linebacker type, and I think that's the role that they're going to put him in here. He's going to be coming in on nickel and dime packages to play that true linebacker role. He's going to be a coverage linebacker type that's bigger, and he's got great coverage ability because let's face it, guys, Bobby Wagner, one of the best run defending linebackers in football, one of the best blitzing linebackers in football. The dude cannot move in pass coverage, okay? So on later downs, obvious passing situations, I think Bobby Wagner might get taken off the field, or he's going to be kind of like an edge rusher / defensive lineman in the NASCAR package. Jamin Davis will be on the field pretty much all the time as a middle linebacker, and then when Bobby Wagner goes to the NASCAR package and goes to the defensive line with Frankie Louvu, who is the hybrid linebacker here, Jeremy Chinn will come down from strong safety and be the other middle linebacker in those formations. And because Jamin Davis is going to be kind of an every down middle linebacker, at least I think he is in this defense, could he get the green dot? It's definitely possible. I still think it's probably going to go to Bobby Wagner because I do think he'll be a part of those NASCAR packages on later downs there and obvious passing situations. So I think he will be on the field for pretty much every single down. So I still think the green dot goes to Bobby Wagner, who's had that responsibility pretty much his entire career. But it is possible that Jamin Davis does get that responsibility as well. And then we get to the safety room here. So how does that affect Jeremy Chinn's role in the safety room? Well, essentially when he goes down to play hybrid linebacker, on those kind of nickel dime type sets, Quan Martin's going to come in and play strong safety. So those guys are going to rotate at strong safety. Now, when they're in their base formations, I do think Jeremy will probably be the strong safety and Quan will come off. But I think that Quan Martin's a pretty darn good player. I think he might be their long-term solution at free safety. And Derek Forrest is fantastic as a free safety right now when he's healthy, in my opinion. So I really like this safety group. I'm really intrigued by it. Forrest is a playmaker when he's healthy. Jeremy Chinn is somebody that I think is going to fit into this defense like an absolute glove, and he's going to be one of the best comeback players on the defensive side of the ball in the NFL this year. And then Quan Martin, he wasn't really a great fit for what they wanted to do last year. They put him at slot corner. He didn't play a whole lot, but this year I think he's going to find a home in this defense, and it's going to be really fun to watch. But the one thing that I still have a little bit of concern about is this cornerback room. Emmanuel Forbes is going to have to get a lot better in year 2, which is possible. We'll talk about him a little bit more in a little bit. Michael Davis is kind of a bigger corner that they're bringing in to play against the DK Metcalfs and the A.J. Browns because they tried putting Emmanuel Forbes, a 165-pound corner, on those bigger receivers last year, and you guys saw the result. Then you also have Benjamin St-Juste, who's very long. He's got good short area quickness. He's got pretty decent instincts, but the long speed just isn't there. So I think he'll probably be the rotational guy on the outside. And then you have Mike Sainristil, the slot corner that you drafted in the second round. He's going to be one of the best nickel corners in football right away. And I think that you could use him as a blitzer as well. He can be a part of these pressure packages that Dan Quinn's going to deploy. I think it's going to be a really, really fun rookie season for Mike Sainristil, who I think is going to be one of the best slot corners in the game for a very long time. And like I said, guys, I think outside corner is probably the one position that really scares me at this point, just because there's no depth and there's not a whole lot of high-end talent, or at least not any high-end talent that's proven. I mean, Emmanuel Forbes is intriguing because he has long arms, great long speed. He's got really great ability to track the football and grab interceptions, and then he's got the rushing instincts once he has the ball in his hands to take it to the house. He's got those instincts as well. So I think that what Commanders fans are hoping for here is that he has a similar transformation to what Trayvon Diggs was able to do in his second year with Dan Quinn in this defense. I mean, you guys will remember Trayvon Diggs in his rookie season was one of, if not the worst corner in football. He was burnt toast, just like Emmanuel Forbes was in his first year. But what do Trayvon Diggs and Emmanuel Forbes have in common? They both have great ball skills. They both have great instincts. They're super aggressive, and they go out and get those interceptions. And I think Emmanuel Forbes really does fit kind of that same mold. So it'll be very interesting to see if Emmanuel Forbes can have a similar year two leap that Trayvon Diggs was able to have with Mr. Dan Quinn there in Dallas. So let me know down there in the comments section, boom or bust? Will Emmanuel Forbes boom or bust in 2024 here in his second season? Type boom or bust for me down there in the comments. That'll be it for today's show, guys. I know it was a lot of in the weeds kind of stuff today, kind of schematics and all that different stuff. But if you made it to the end of today's show, I want you to identify yourselves down there in the comment section by typing real one in all caps. So let me know you made it to the end of today's show. And make sure you click that subscribe button because we got more in-depth Commanders analysis all throughout the 2024 offseason, getting you ready for the first year of the Dan Quinn era here in the nation's capital.